What's going on, everyone? Dots Gaming here, and today I bring you guys a Feral Druid keybinding guide for World of Warcraft. Now, this is a follow-up guide to my Feral Druid PvP guide, so if you have not watched that video, I would recommend giving it a watch. And I will quickly just showcase my talents and what I'm working with for the actual keybinding process for this video, so you can take a look at that right there. But the Druid has a lot of keybinds. No secret to anybody who's tried to play the class. With all of that utility and all of the different forms comes a lot of buttons. And so a lot of people, when they are newer to Druid, they just don't know where to put their binds, how to organize them. And so I figured I'd make a video just showcasing my personal method for going about it. I think it's pretty straightforward. I know when you look at a lot of other WoW players' UIs, the binds are in really weird spots, and that doesn't seem it doesn't seem intuitive, but everyone's got their own binding style. But I think the way that I have it is relatively straightforward. And so if you've been struggling with setting up binds for your Feral Druid, hopefully this video will help you out. Now, one little thing to preface this though is you are going to need an MMO mouse for the way that I bind. I personally would not be able to play Feral Druid without one of the mice that has a 12 button panel on the side. There's just too many buttons and there's too many keybinds, and with the way that I like to set everything up, I would not be able to play without one. So I will leave an affiliate link in the description below for the mouse that I currently use. It's not too expensive, so if you want to support my channel and get yourself a nice mouse that will make playing WoW much easier, feel free to pick one up. But I think the way we're going to do this is because this is a Feral Druid bind, we're going to start in cat form and just kind of go over my methodology and thought process behind all of my binds and how I kind of have things set up. So my first 5 buttons on any class that I play are always rotational skills. So I have Shred on 1, Rake on 2, Thrash on 3, Brutal Slash on 4, and Ferocious Bite on 5. Now, I also find a comfortable keybind for a rotational skill to be R, so I have my Rip on R. Now, the way that I play every class in the game, Q is always a stun, and E is always my kick. So I have that for the cat bar. And then if you see, SQ is Shift Q, so that's Focus Bash, while Shift E is Focus Skull Bash or Focus Kick. I then usually will do T for an execute, or in this case, a slightly higher cooldown skill that goes into my rotation. So I have Feral Frenzy on T. I have F is my Tiger's Fury macro that uses Tiger's Fury and my PvP badge at the same time. V is always my gap closer. So across all of my different Feral forms, or all of my different Druid forms, V is Wild Charge. And then C is going to be my main. Now, with that same bar for Bear form, I have 1 and 2 are Mangle, just so I don't have any empty bar space. 3 is Thrash. 4 is Strength of the Wild, which is a skill that you get from a PvP talent. 5 is Iron Fur. Q is still Bash. E is still Kick. R is Frenzied Regen. T is Incapacitating Roar. F is Tiger's Fury, because I've explained this in the PvP guide, but if you use Tiger's Fury in any shapeshift form, it will automatically put you back into cat form. So it's a really nice way to shift back into cat form while avoiding the global cooldown. V is once again Wild Charge, with C being Growl. Now, finally, for human or travel form, I have Wrath and Moonfire on 1 and 2. I have my Resto Affinity skills on 3, 4, and 5. Again, Q is Mighty Bash because it's usable in any form. E is my Moonkin form if for some reason I need to use Moonkin form. R, T are just kind of bullshit stuff. F is again Tiger's Fury to insta shift back into cat form. V is Wild Charge again, and C is again an empty bind. Basically, I just have Revive here on my human bar. Now, when it comes to the bar up here, this is all stuff that I want to access at any single time in any single form. So again, you notice that in bear form, right, I do have in-cap roar on T, but I still want to access in-cap roar even if I'm in cat form. So I also have it on Shift T. This macro is also, it will change to Typhoon or Ursul's Vortex depending on the affinity that I change. I also have Bark Skin on Shift 1 and Survival Instincts on Shift 2. So my 2 primary defensive cooldowns are very easy to access, again, from any form, which is why I have them on the not shapeshift bars. Same thing with Berserk. Berserk will automatically toss you into cat form, and I want to be able to access this cooldown at an easy time. Now, I don't like to put bigger cooldown things like this on like a regular button down here, because if I fat finger it, that's a big yikes. So I put that on Shift 3. Shift 4 and Shift 5 are my personal buttons that I like to use to shift forms. Typically, I'll also put other offensive and defensive cooldowns here for other classes, but with the way that my Druid binds kind of shook out, it ended up just being best for me to put them here. So these are the two I use the most, obviously, when I play Feral. So it's really easy to kind of be able to shift between these two, regardless of the form that I'm in. So I have easy access to them at all times. Same thing with Shift R, the ability to go straight into stealth whenever I need to, again, on any bar. I talked about Shift T already. Shift F is my trinket. My trinket on every class that I play all the time is Shift F. Shift V and Shift C are more movement skills, so that's why I have Dash here and Stampeding Roar here. Once again, you're going to want to be able to access these on whatever Druid form that you're in. So I have them on binds that I can click no matter what. Like if you look at my Feral bar, this is all stuff that either can't be used in other forms, or I already have bound to the same buttons. Same thing with bear form, stuff that can only be used while in bear form, or stuff that's already bound to other shapeshift forms, and the same thing in human form. So that's kind of the strategy I employed. Now, because Z and Shift Z do not change, you know, based off of the form that I'm in, I do have my Covenant skills here. Again, I'll only use Convoke the Spirits if I am in Cat form, because that's why I wanted to deal damage, obviously. And then I use Shift Z for Soul Shape, just so I know that all of my Covenant stuff is on Z. X is Entangling Roots, with Shift X being Focus Entangling Roots. G is what I use to do Soothe. I don't use Soothe all that often. It's super niche. I'll typically only use it to get off a warrior spell reflect, or like if I'm in a dungeon or something and I want to calm down an enraged enemy, just quickly smack Soothe. But again, it's not that often that I use this, so I put it on the most comfortable keybind. Same thing with War Stomp. War Stomp's got, you know, its niche uses to stop Fists of Fury, or to stun into clone, and so I don't put it on a bind that's overly convenient, but it's something that I can reach in a pinch if I need it. Travel form I do have on Tilde, which is the button right next to your 1 key. Again, I want to be able to access this really quickly for travel form. This is always my mount form, or my mount on all of my classes anyway, so it made sense for me to just put my travel form here. S is Cyclone, with Shift S being Focus Cyclone. I never bind to backpedal, so I have my clone on S. S is a really easy to access keybind, so it makes it really easy for me to clone people when I need to. Finally, I have 6 is my Hibernate key. Now, this will do Hibernate, but it also has a bunch of cancel auras in it as well. So if you do need to cancel an aura or try to hibernate an enemy druid or an enemy pet, you can access this you know, on the 6 key. Now for me, 6 is not that not comfortable of a keybind, to be honest, so I put something here that's super niche, just makes it really easy for me to access it. Now finally, when it comes to the mouse, now this over here on the right, this is entirely my mouse. So I have my, if you're looking at your mouse key, or at your mouse, right, if you have an MMO mouse, obviously if you don't have one, this is going to be kind of odd, but assuming you do, looking at it, basically what I do, let me bring that up. So basically what I will do is make my bottom button on the mouse target Arena 3, because it coordinates with my arena frames. So on that front row, the bottom button would be Arena 3, the second button is Arena 2, and the top button's Arena 1, so that I know if I want to target the top person in this list, I hit the top button on my mouse. The bottom person in this list, I hit the bottom button on my mouse. So this is target Arena 1, Arena 2, and Arena 3. And then if I shift click those, it's Focus Arena 1, Focus Arena 2, and Focus Arena 3. Now, the way that I have my mouse set up is I have each row accomplishes a different task. So my second row on my mouse is my regrowth. So if I hit the bottom button, it does me. If I hit the middle button, it'll heal a DPS. And if I hit the top button, it'll do my healer. Same thing for the third row. That's remove corruption. The bottom button is me. The second button is DPS. The third button is my healer. Same thing for the back. We have thorns. The bottom button is myself. The middle button is DPS. And the top button is me. So it makes it really easy for me to know, okay, I need to heal somebody, second row. And then, okay, I need to heal my DPS, middle button, bang. You know, same thing. I got to remove corruption from my healer. Third row, top button, bang. You know, it makes it a lot easier if you just don't have like a assortment of buttons like on your mouse, because then you have to figure out in the middle of combat, like, okay, what is this, what is this, what is that? For me, in the way that my brain works, it makes it easier for me to know that each row has its own purpose. So the first row is arena targeting, the second row is regrowth, the third row is remove corruption, and the fourth row is thorns. And then for some reason, if I do use Resto Affinity, if I shift click the second row, it'll do the exact same thing with my Resto Affinity skills. Because basically what I do is if I play Resto Affinity, I have a button here for the shift regrowth row, where basically what it does is it'll target my ally and then just cast rejuve on them. Because what that will do is it'll automatically take me out of cat form to put me in human form. It'll automatically target my ally, and then from there I can use Swift Mend off of my human key, off of this 4 key here, and then 5 for wild growth. I just need that initial keybind on the mouse to pull me out of cat form into human form. But that's pretty much it, man. Quick guide on how I have the Druid bind set up. I know I probably spoke really quickly, but hopefully you guys did understand this and did get to, you know, take something from it. And hopefully you understand where I was coming from with the way that I have my bind set up. You know, the big thing with the Druid is just, like I said, it's just strategy. It's figuring out where you want to put the buttons so that you have access, you know, certain things you have access to them in all forms, while other things you only have access to in the specific form, but you also want to have buttons to make sure that you can switch to different forms really quickly. And the way that I have things set up is what works best for me. So if you've been struggling to set up your binds for your Druid, hopefully this did help. If you do have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below. But if you did also find this video helpful, I would appreciate if you left a like on it. And for more great WoW content, as well as other MMORPG content, please hit that sub button, as well as hit the bell to keep notifications on. But thank you all so much for stopping by today. I do very much appreciate it. As always, I'm Dots Gaming, and I'll see you all in the next one.